Monday was a busy night in Pennsylvania for the state's Senate candidates. The Republican Party's top 5 contenders, including the Trump-endorsed celebrity surgeon Dr. Mehmet Oz, slugged it out on the debate stage last night in the state's capital, Harrisburg. It was the first time all 5 contenders appeared together for a televised debate, and the first of several Republican face-offs scheduled ahead of next month's primary. Joining us now for more is a guy who knows a thing or two about Keystone State politics, Jon Delano from our CBS News Pittsburgh station, KDKA TV. Jon, great to see you again. Welcome back to
Hey, Ed, always good to be with you, my friend. Always good.
Well, tell us, what were the defining issues on the Republican side of this debate last night?
Well, let me be blunt. There are no policy issue differences among these candidates. They agree on everything. And they were asked a number of questions, from abortion to transgender sports and the economy and Joe Biden and things like that. They all agree. So there's no policy difference as such. But there are differences, one of which came out quite clearly has to do with residency. Dr. Oz has lived most of his life in New Jersey. Dave McCormick has been out of the state for, 15 years. Carla Sands was born in Pennsylvania, but moved out to California. So you got 3 of the 5 on the stage there who cannot claim to have been in Pennsylvania for the last decade, 2 decades, 3 decades. And of course, that became an issue with some of the candidates, particularly with Jeff Bartos and with Kathy Barnett, always calling them carpetbaggers or just kind of zooming in order to win an election and then going to disappear once they win. I mean, there are all kinds of accusations on the residency side. So that was one of the big disputes. The other, of course, is President Trump's endorsement of Mehmet Oz. And you can imagine how that's just a tough issue for the others to handle.
Yeah, it's funny because I've met plenty of Florida congressmen who grew up in Pennsylvania. It's sort of standard in many other states to have people elected to Congress who weren't born in that state. But it would be rare for Pennsylvania, a state that many people move out of, don't necessarily move to be elected
and particularly,
to office.
I mean, what makes it suspicious, Ed, of course, is that these candidates, all 3 of them, moved to Pennsylvania within the last year or so after Senator Pat Toomey announced that he was stepping down.
Yeah.
So it doesn't show that there was a great love affair with Pennsylvania pre the political move of an open seat. So, it raises lots of questions. It makes the juices go. I don't know in the end whether that's going to be a defining issue in terms of how Republican voters vote. I'm sure it's going to get raised in the November election.
Sure. Look, there's not a lot of polling for this race on the Republican side. Top line it for us. Give us a sense who's likely leading this and how significant is the undecided vote potentially?
Well, if you take together all the polls, it's slightly for McCormick over Oz, real clear politics and those sources. The Trafalgar poll is the most recent one, and that was conducted just before and after President Trump's endorsement of Mehmet Oz. And Oz is ahead by 3 points, but as you know, margin of error is 3 points in this particular poll. So it could be neck and neck between McCormick and Oz. And I might add, Kathy Barnett, who is a Pennsylvanian, is only 1 point behind McCormick. So, at this stage, I think it's really a toss-up. I don't think anybody is predicting yet who's going to win this. And there's the money that's being spent by Mehmet Oz and Dave McCormick just boggles the mind.
It boggles the mind, but let's be honest, Jon, we know where a lot of that money gets spent. On KDKA TV, right?
Yeah, our bosses are very, very happy. But Ed, do you get a slice of that CBS money?
No. Do you? I don't think so.
Not a penny.
Remind the voters and viewers of that. Hey, on the Democratic side, real quick,
yes.
2 of the candidates in what is essentially a 3-way race. I know there's other candidates, but it's a 3-way race, basically. Hail from your side of the state. Connor Lamb, the congressman, John Fetterman, the lieutenant governor, both from Western Pennsylvania. Fetterman appears to be pulling away with this one. Do you get any sense of that changing here in the closing weeks? It seems that in their debates, at least, the needle hasn't moved.
No, it hasn't moved a lot, but then there hasn't really been polling to suggest one way or the other. Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman has a more than 2-to-1 lead over Congressman Connor Lamb, largely because Fetterman's been lieutenant governor. He's been to every county, all 67 counties, and he preaches this gospel of legalizing marijuana. So he has a he has a constituency in every single county across Pennsylvania. Conor Lamb is basically Western Pennsylvania. And while he had some great celebrity winning a congressional seat in a district that voted for Donald Trump by 20 plus points, he's still not that well known across the state. What is changing of late, Ed, is that we are now seeing more television ads for Conor Lamb, both his own ads plus those of a super PAC that support him. And so it may well be, although with 3 weeks to go, you just wonder whether there's enough time for Conor Lamb to really pull closer to John Fetterman. This race is basically John Fetterman's to lose, and we'll see whether he actually does lose it in the end.
Well, we'll be talking to you as the primary approaches on primary night and all through the campaign, because once again, all eyes may focus on the Keystone State to get a sense of how things are really going, and balance of power may come down to your open seat. We'll see.
It often does, and always happy to talk to you about it.
Well, we're glad to have you. Jon Delano, KDKA TV there in Pittsburgh. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.